is up? I guess this is like the Spider House series of the podcast. Because this episode, just like the last episode, is centered around some comedians that I saw at is it Speedray House? It might be, I'm not sure. But yeah, let's get into it. No intros, no nothing. Actually, let me preface. If you guys haven't heard this before, the goal of this podcast is to discuss stand-up comedians in Austin, talk about what I like about them, what I remember, any kind of goofy stories, in the hopes to inject some positivity into the stand-up comedy scene while we're all waiting to get back up there and firmly grip the microphone, smell the metal on the tip. I don't know why it's got sexual. I'm sorry. But let's get into it. Today I'm going to talk about a comedian named Joe Tullar. I'm going to talk about a comedian named Austen Silver. And I'm going to talk about a comedian named Kent Juliff. So out of these three comedians, Austen was the only one that I don't recall seeing at Spider House. But we'll get to that in a second. So let's talk about Joe Tullar. So Joe Tullar, I think recently, I haven't seen him perform, him and Kent. I've only seen them perform like once in the last year. I don't know where they perform, but they're fucking funny. So back in the day when I used to go to the midnight open mic at Spider House, I would see Joe. And he has an interesting delivery, to say the least, if you haven't seen him. My favorite thing he ever did at Spider House was, like I said, when the midnight open mic would happen, I would go watch it because I lived close by. But the majority of the time, it would literally just be me, the bartender, and the comedians. Some nights some people would be there. Some nights they wouldn't. Most nights it was just a very sparse, bare crowd. But on this particular night, when Joe went up, these two older dudes, probably in their 50s or 60s, came in. Mind you, this is midnight on like a Monday night. And one of them was wearing a fedora. And they were kind of ribbing the comedians that were on stage. Not super hard, but like, what else are they going to do? They're just sitting in there. Not even sitting. There's no chairs either. It's just the bar and the stage. And a container filled with water. But this particular night, I think one of them said something to Joe. And Joe took a beat and goes, "You're really going to say something to me when you're wearing that hat?" And then just kind of proceeded to rip into this dude a little bit. And I took great joy in it. And I think it was just like me, the two old guys, the comedian, and the bartender. So like me laughing, it's like, well, I can't hide it. I'm just laughing at you getting made fun of in a public setting. It was enjoyable for me. I'm sure it was enjoyable for Joe. But yeah, I hope you're doing well, Joe. I hope to catch some sets of yours in the future. I think he's got a podcast with Pat Dean. I need to check that out. I like Pat a lot. I'm going to talk about Pat in a later episode. I guess I got a special lineup with Pat. All right, so Austen Silver. So Austin's the one out of these three that I know well enough to be able to say that we've conversed. I bumped into him the other day, and he said he had... wait a minute. Have I done a podcast about Austin already? Shit. Oh, well. I'll talk about him again. I bumped into him the other day post-quarantine or during quarantine, and he said he knocked out a script. So congrats to you, man. Hope you send that out and get that thing picked up. Do your thing. But yeah, so Austin... won a competition that we did at the Bomb City open mic, and we gave him a prize. It was, I think it might have been on Valentine's Day, and then we hung out after. I gotta check and see if I've done one with him. Hold on. Alright, so I haven't done one with him. Anyhow, he won the Joke of the Night prize. I think it was about him talking about his ex imitating his stand-up while doing stand-up. And I was like, dude, that's a heady thing to take onto stage. I don't know if I would have the capacity to deal with something like that on stage, but it was really fucking funny. And he's always made me laugh during his sets. He has a very stand-up comedian vibe to him as well, and a good stand-up comedian look to him. But anyhow, so we hung out that night at Spider House, and he like educated me on like different stand-up comedians in Austin, about FPIA, just different things about the Austin stand-up comedy scene. There's some irony in there that I'm learning about Austin comics from a gentleman named Austin who's a comic. I found, that tickled me. But yeah, so he's actually the person who told me about this next comedian, but he told me his name because I was asking about who this guy was because I never remembered his name. And at first he thought I was talking about Mac Blake, who I talked about early on in this series, like episode 1, who's really funny. His voice reminds me of the fucking pig from Toy Story. But anyhow, so the guy I was actually thinking of was Kent Juliff. So shout out to Austin, hope you're doing well, man. But let's talk about Kent Juliff. So Kent, I had saw a bunch of times at that midnight open mic. I think I didn't even see him perform. I just saw him at Fallout Theater one night, and then I had left before he went up. I should have stuck around because he's funny. But I remember my favorite joke that I heard from him was like I heard him like when he came on stage, he was wearing like a tracksuit or something. He had like a very Danny Tanner energy about him. Like not a Bob Saget energy, but a Danny Tanner energy. But a little bit cooler, like a cool Danny Tanner. But when he opened the set, I'm going to probably get the products wrong, but I remember he opened the set and goes, Netflix, Tide, Nabisco, you guys use these products? And everybody was like, yeah, and he goes, good, all right, yeah, keep using them. And then he just went to the next joke. I don't know why that was so fucking funny to me. I don't know if I think because it's so mysterious. Like, did he bail on a joke? Was that the joke? I don't know, but it was still funny. And I don't know. It's going to seem like I'm gushing over something trivial, but he was somebody who always made me laugh really hard when he went on stage. So there's something about some comedians that just ooze that funniness when they get on stage. They could do anything, and it's probably going to be funny. Not to get too deep into my own stuff, but I never felt that with music. When I went on stage to play music, I had nothing to rely on. So like, I knew the songs I was going to play. I had to play those songs in the exact order, in the exact way. If I was going to say something in between, I had to be about this, I wrote this song because, I just got my, I just went up with a breakup, blah, blah. Like, there was no surprise, no presence, and people can sense that in the crowd, whether it's a musician or a comedian. So I really like to see people that are on stage that are just naturally funny. There are people that can learn how to write jokes, and they can present those jokes in a way that people will laugh because crowds understand cadence, and they understand when they need to laugh, and they know that there are certain buzzwords that they should be laughing at. But when somebody's really, truly funny, they can go up and be like, how's it going? And it's probably going to be funny. So that's a little small rant there. But all right, so shout out to Joe, shout out to Austin, shout out to Kent. Hope y'all are doing well. If you're an Austin stand-up comedian, I'm coming for you. I'm going to talk about you on the podcast, though. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I like about you, maybe something that reminded me of something you did. It's like a mixture of New York and Louisiana. I'm sorry you had to deal with that accent, but In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy. Stand-up comedy will be back. Have a great day.